Welcome, Level 5 personnel. I'm stepping in today as your senior archivist for this highly classified explainer. Look, today, we're going to clinically review the true unredacted nature of the SCP-9991 anomaly. We're stripping away the manufactured narrative, right? We need to examine the raw data and look really closely at the operational truths that have literally been buried in the ashes of Site-19. Now, be advised, before we proceed any further, this is not your standard procedural warning. This briefing completely strips away our established cover story. It reveals operational truths that might seriously compromise your perception of Foundation leadership. You see, we're dealing with classified history, systemic erasure, and a frankly authoritarian deception orchestrated from the very top. If you don't have Level 5 clearance, disconnect immediately. Okay, so let's dive into the sanitized baseline we were initially fed. SCP-9091 originally presented as 15-centimeter plush pendants, mass-marketed under the name Lapupu by a company called Culture Shock. The Foundation initiated a mass recall of roughly 50,000 distributed instances. We pulled this off under the highly effective guise of heavy metal contamination, basically claiming the toys contained dangerous levels of arsenic and lead. Field agents were authorized to forcibly sever the toys from citizens. Once contained, the neutralization protocol was mundane, literally just spray them with salt water twice a week.
Now pay attention to the fundamental deception in how our theology department categorized the anomalous behaviors. We had toys moving and speaking without mechanical parts. We had reports of children exhibiting antisocial behavior, anti-authoritarian sentiment, and even biting their parents. And the official attributed cause? Demonic possession. Specifically, the influence of the ancient Mesopotamian deity Pazuzu. We built this clinical, terrifying profile of a corruptive cognitohazard, really just to justify absolute containment.
A quick message. Accessing these archives requires Level 3 clearance. Ensure your credentials are up to date by hitting the subscribe button to stay informed on future containment breaches. Back to the video.
Section 1. The Anart Investigation. Subject Detainment. Frederick's son.
You see, this clinical narrative held perfectly until we actually investigated the anomaly's origin. Foundation agents tracked Sun to an abandoned apartment in Hong Kong and finally detained him in Cornwall, England. It was during his interrogation with Dr. Benedict Hart that the first real cracks in our sanitized narrative appeared. When confronted with the accusation that he was binding violent demons into children's toys, Sun was horrified. He frantically rejected the demonic narrative. He insisted, with this chilling, desperate earnestness, that these anomalous entities were his innocent daughters. He wasn't acting like a dark cultist at all. He was acting like a terrified father. Well, shortly after this alarming interview, a directive came down from the very top. The administrator issued a highly unusual, completely uncompromising order. All confiscated instances were to be moved to Site-19, arranged in a highly specific ritualistic spiral formation, and mass incinerated immediately. No further testing, no long-term containment, just immediate total destruction by fire. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive, glaring contradiction in our own protocols. I mean, think about it. Why use fire to bind a demon? This order deeply disturbed the on-site containment specialists. Look, anyone who has ever performed a standard exorcism or containment ritual knows that burning a possessed object without proper holy seals doesn't neutralize a demon. It literally only frees the dark entity to leap from soul to soul. The administrator of all people knows this. So why issue the order? Section 2. The Veil Drops. Troy Lament's harrowing realization. Containment Specialist Troy Lament was actually on the ground during the incineration. He noted the obvious lack of holy water, the use of salt, the bizarre spiral arrangement, but it was when the flames rose and the thick smoke filled Site-19 that the real truth was revealed. As the plushies burned, Lament heard them. He realized, right there in the heat of that roaring fire, that we were not exorcising violent demons at all. We were carrying out the deliberate mass execution of children. And worse, he realized the administrator orchestrated it intentionally. The fallout from this was immediate. During the incineration, containment was breached. About 10,000 instances escaped the fire, fleeing straight into the deep woods. So we abruptly shifted from an old designation of an easily confiscated Euclid demon to a Keter class threat. We were suddenly dealing with hostile, breached entities that were actively vandalizing our facilities with soot and obscene messages. We were literally forced to redefine what we were actually fighting. Because what we had just burned alive, they weren't demons. They were Pukai, juvenile trickster fae. They're capable of shape-shifting, often appearing as little girls with animal ears or ponies. And the most damning detail of all this, their interactions with the general public are remarkably peaceful. They'll actually perform household chores in exchange for baked goods. They're historically associated with improvements in health and agricultural harvests. Bottom line, they were innocent.
So to understand why the administrator ordered the ruthless execution of peaceful fae children, we actually have to look back into our own grim history. Between 1921 and 1932, the Foundation engaged in the Foundation-Fae War. But it wasn't just a conflict, it was a systemic genocide. We systematically eradicated the Fae species, stripping the survivors of their names and forcing them into retreat. By the end of it, a staggering 75% of the recorded Fae population was officially dead or narratively erased by the Foundation.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. SCP-9991 was never a weapon. The Lapupu plushies were a mechanism forged in pure absolute desperation. The Fae were essentially using modern art to bring their lost, banished children safely back into our world. They were hiding them in plain sight as mass-produced toys, just so they could experience humanity and joy once again.
Section 3. The Edge of the Twisted Oaks. The Administrator meets the Fae Jester.
The massacre at Site-19 provoked a highly classified, incredibly tense confrontation, where the Administrator came face-to-face with the discordant Deer. That's a prominent Fae Jester from the former Fae Court. And during this meeting, the Jester openly mocked the Administrator, completely laying bare the Foundation's true motives. The Administrator fabricated the violent demon story just to manipulate personnel, like Troy Lament, into committing atrocities without question. We weaponized our authoritarian control just to keep humanity's narrative strictly mundane, because the Administrator harbors an intense, hateful refusal to allow humanity to be enhanced by Fae magic. This wasn't containment, folks. It was the direct continuation of a systemic massacre, all hidden under the guise of secure, contain, protect. Yet, despite the horrifying massacre of literally thousands of Fae children at Site-19, the discordant Deer did not surrender. Instead, they delivered a chilling promise. They said, "You have stolen our names, used our magic, and claimed our lands as your own. But there is one thing you will never possess. You will never be able to take our whimsy." The Jester confirmed that the surviving children would absolutely not live in fear of the Foundation's fire. They would continue to find joy in this gray, mundane world. Which leaves us right at the end of this unredacted briefing. You are now burdened with the truth of SCP-9991. You need to look at the ashes of Site-19, at the smoke still clinging to our operational history, and ask yourself a very serious question. When the Administrator burns innocent children alive just to maintain authoritarian control over a mundane world, who are the real monsters in the dark? What exactly are we securing? And who are we really protecting? Consider this very carefully as you return to your posts. Dismissed. This concludes today's briefing. If you wish to maintain your current clearance level and ensure continued access to the Versarian database, a subscription to this channel is mandatory. Secure your connection by leaving a like on this file, and log your requests in the comments section below to dictate which anomaly we unseal next. Stay vigilant and expect your next set of logs every day. Secure, contain, protect.